When you live with ADHD, planning your week can feel like staring at a blank map with no compass. That's why Nikki built GPS, Guided Planning Sessions.
That's right. GPS is more than just a weekly planning call. It's a proven structure where you learn to chart your week with intention, set realistic goals, and lean on built-in accountability so you don't have to do it alone.
Every session gives you the space and guidance to reset, regroup, and move forward with clarity. You'll also get access to workshops and special events and a private online community that's been thriving for years, full of people who get it, who know what it's like to wrestle with ADHD, and who show up to cheer each other on.
That community is the heart of GPS. Our longtime members call it a lifeline, the place where they've built consistency, celebrated progress, and found friends who keep them motivated.
Enrollment is open now for the fall session, but spots are limited. So if you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start moving with purpose, this is your moment.
Join a group, find your path, get moving. Sign up today at takecontroladhd.com/GPS.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
Nikki, I got a little riled up in the pre-show.
You did.
And so my energy is high right now. But
high.
I'm so excited for this conversation for so many reasons. We are continuing our series about finance and ADHD. When I got riled up last week about side hustles, that was unpleasant for everybody. So today we're going to talk about... We were going to talk about budgeting, but I have it on good authority that word is now sort of verboten. And so I have to learn why I'm not going to use that word anymore. And I'm very excited to do it. We have the budget nerds here. We're going to get to them in just a second. But first, you know the drill. Head over to takecontroladhd.com and get to know us a little bit better. You can listen to the show right there on the website or subscribe to the mailing list. We'll send you an email each time a new episode is released. You can find us on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Blue Sky at Take Control ADHD. And we would love to see you in the Discord server, takecontroladhd.com/Discord. There are a lot of people over there now, y'all, and they are all living their best life with ADHD, learning from one another, supporting one another. It is incredibly gratifying to see that community grow and thrive. A lot of them over there are members of our Patreon community, so they get access to the triple secret channels, and you can join and become a member there at patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. As you know, the economy is doing great, but if you want to help us do great through this great economy, then you could join Patreon, get access to those channels, get access to new episodes a week before they're released, before everybody else hears them. You get access to all kinds of other special events. We're very, very excited to offer all those things to you. Check it out, patreon.com/the ADHD podcast to learn more. Today, we are continuing our conversation about ADHD and money. Do you hear how serious I got when I started talking about ADHD and money? Very serious. Very serious. For most of us with ADHD, the word alone can bring up a mix of emotions: stress, avoidance, shame. But here's the truth. Planning doesn't have to be about restriction or punishment. It can actually be a tool for clarity, confidence, and even a little peace of mind. To help us explore how, we are joined by two of our favorite budget nerds from YNAB, Ben Barlow and Ernie Reppe. Ernie, is it Reppe?
It is.
I have never. Right. Thank you. I had to guess because you guys never say your last names on the show.
True. I only very recently learned how to say Ernie's last name. we don't ever talk about our last names. We only go our first
years
name.
You've been doing the show together.
And we've been working together for 9.
And it was only this year. I was like, oh, it's Reppe. I thought it was Rep.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Ben, I'm glad I could teach you something here today. Reppe and Ernie Reppe, they have spent years teaching people how to bring more purpose and flexibility into their financial lives. And today they're here to share their wisdom with us. Don't worry, they're not here to tell us what we can or can't buy. They might try, but probably won't. They are here to show us how this simple framework can help us feel more in control of where our money is going and less weighed down by where it's been. Ben and Ernie, formally, at long last, welcome to the ADHD podcast.
Thank you. What an intro. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Excited to be here.
Well, it's very timely. Nikki, you don't know this, but as a subscriber of their show, I have to tell you that just 7 days ago, they released an episode in which they talk all about getting started with YNAB and putting a lot of the sort of the mentality, the money mindset at work. And it's really fun to watch how hard it is for Ben not to get super nerdy about it. Ernie has the reins.
Ernie was holding me back.
Oh my God. It is a delightful thing. So I'm going to put that episode in particular in the show notes for people and it's really great to watch on YouTube. It's, there's a lot you can do with theater of the mind, but watching the screen share is really, really good. Okay. You guys are not ADHD experts, and I have it on some authority that you might have had some anxiety about coming on an ADHD podcast.
Yes.
Well, I didn't want to come in and be like, so I know everything about your brain. Because I don't.
Yeah. Luckily, we've got that part covered. We're really okay.
Yep.
I think what we want to get to is just to talk a little bit about first why it's okay to come to terms with the fact that money can be harder with ADHD, and the things that we deal with maybe in large part more than neuronormative folks around impulse spending and forgetting bills and shame spirals around inconsistency, right? All of those kinds of things get in the way of us with ADHD. And Nikki, I know the people you work with are living those things.
Yeah, I would say with the ADHD, it's definitely the impulsiveness, of buying things before thinking, not being able to have that pause button. But also keeping a budget feels really big. And then not sure how to break that down into a smaller piece. And so then there's avoidance that just doesn't happen. And so, hoping that there's money in the bank or hoping that there's enough credit to cover something. But then in taxes, I have a lot of clients who don't do their taxes, or they're late by they're always extending to the tax deadline because they've waited to the last minute to do taxes. And then it's so stressful to be able to get all that paperwork together. And then I know some people who've gone years, So yeah, I think that some of those things are just with ADHD, it heightens it. But I don't want to say that doesn't happen with neurotypical people either. Like I know that happens with those folks as well. So they're not alone, but I think that's just escalated a little bit.
Right.
Well, and so I turned to you guys. Is in our efforts to kind of normalize the fact that these are common challenges with everybody. You've been talking about budgeting together for a long time. You're trainers at YNAB. You've been at YNAB for a long time. Give us a little bit of background as to how you landed in the place where you landed to become teachers of this stuff.
Yeah. Ernie, you want to go first?
I was a customer first. So I found YNAB 13 years ago, and I fell in love with it. Like I loved the software, and I think I loved it because it worked. Like I saw big differences with my money, and then I just ended up loving the company, the culture, the vibe. And I'm like, man, I want to be a part of this someday. And it just so happened I was at the end of my rope in this dead end job. And I'm like, I need a change. And so I saw that YNAB was posting seasonal positions. And this is for the support team during our busy season, which is December and January. And I'm like, I'm going to take a shot at this. It's a temporary position, but if I can get my foot in the door, maybe something can work out. And sure enough, it did. So I was hired as a seasonal. I came on part-time, permanent, and then I went permanent full-time, and then eventually I transitioned to the marketing team where I became a teacher and one half of the Budget Nerd show.
Love that.
I love that's one of those aspirational stories, and I love it so much because we have members on the ADHD team that actually started as members of our fantastic community. Awesome. I think that's the best way. That's the best way to find a place you love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aspirational.
And what I love about that story too, to bring it back to money, is YNAB helped me make that jump, because when I transitioned from that full-time job, I was taking a big pay cut. But looking at the numbers, I'm like, okay, it's going to be a little bit tighter, but it's feasible. I can do this based on what I have planned out with my money.
Yeah. We're going to talk more about that. Ben, tell us your story.
Yeah, mine's pretty similar, actually. I was also a customer way back in 2013. I had a first baby on the way, and I was like, I need to figure something out here, because I need to save all this money for maternity leave, because my wife was going to stop working for a little while, and just all the medical bills and everything. So we were looking for things. I always used a budget in some form. I used Mint back in the day, but it just wasn't like I wanted to really lock in. So I wanted to look for something else, and that's when I found YNAB. And I was always a little bit of a personal finance nerd, but when I found YNAB, I got real into it, and it's like its own thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was within a couple years, I was like we have like a huge subreddit that's all fan led. I was like in there teaching people, and I was like, no, like this is the way, you gotta do it this way, and I remember I was also like Ernie, I was also in a bit of a career crisis. I was working in a library, which was good, but like I was just kind of getting blocked on like career paths. I was like, what do I want to do? I remember what my wife asked me. This was like January 2016. She was like, hey, if you could do anything at all, like don't even worry about money, like what would it be? And I said, well, what I really love to do is teach for YNAB, but that's never going to happen. Right?
That's not a job.
Yeah. And then I kid you not. So I started looking into like financial coaching and different things like that. So I kind of was on a career journey, like moving that direction. And then in October that year, a teaching job at YNAB came up, and it was a part-time job teaching workshops, because Ernie still does workshops all the time today. We do all these webinars, and they're awesome. And I applied and I got it, and it was a dream come true. It was exactly what I wanted. Right.
Yeah.
And ever since then, been doing it. Got hired full-time a year later. I've done anything you can think of in marketing. I've done it at YNAB. Sure. So I've done all sorts of stuff. Yeah. And then about 5 years ago, we started the Budget Nerds podcast, because Ernie came on the marketing team, and we wanted to give him something to do.
Seriously.
Like that was it. And we were like, we don't have a ton of content like for like the seasoned hardcore YNABers, and that was the original idea. And so we were like, what better name than Budget Nerds? And we went with that. And now it's such a huge community, and it's not just seasoned YNABers, it's new folks too. So it's been really, really powerful, really fun.
Well, we found YNAB. Chelsea Brennan of Smart Money Mamas came on the show some years ago and said some very kind things about YNAB, and that neither of us had ever explored YNAB, and was still lamenting the acquisition of Mint by Intuit.
Right.
Like that was those were some very
that was
sad
a moment
days.
in time.
Yeah. And I think it was shortly after that we started just kind of playing with it, toying with it, and it became so quickly core to how I manage my business and personal finances that we had Jesse on the show, and we'll put that link in the show notes too, because he was fantastic, and talked about sort of how he got started with the company, or how he got the company started, and gave us the 4 rules of YNAB. Now, my understanding is there's now 1 rule of YNAB. So
we've changed it up a little bit.
You've changed it up a little bit. So what I'm hoping we can do here for our first major educational segment, coaches, is to talk about setting up the budgeting mentality, right? What is it that goes into the budgeting mindset shift, right? Budgeting not for restriction, but for clarity and choice, right? How do you lead newbies through that process?
Yeah, well, I'll say the first thing, the core of our method for planning your spending, for handling your money, is give every dollar a job. And that's what you do in YNAB. A lot of folks like to use an envelope analogy. And I think that's really probably the best analogy for what we're doing in YNAB. We have all these categories in YNAB, and imagine it like paper envelopes, where you're just putting all the cash on the table, and you're stuffing it, money into a groceries envelope or into electric bill envelope, right? You're just putting money into these things and you spend out of that envelope, right? This is like your grandma did this back in like the 60s, right?
Classic
Right?
envelope
That's
budgeting,
what YNAB is. But we don't use cash because that's the worst. I mean, like, like,
it's dirty.
If you wanna put some cash in an envelope and do that, like, I think you're awesome. But like, it's 2025, so we digitize that. That's basically what we're doing. We're digitizing this cash envelope system. So when you give every dollar a job, what you're doing is you're putting that money in an envelope. You're just giving it a purpose, and you're planning how you're going to spend your money before you actually spend your money, right? And that's the core part of the method. And then we have a bunch of teaching on how to do that. But that's the basic idea right there.
And a key piece in all of this, and this I think where the mindset shift happens, is you're only working with the money that you have.
Mm-hmm.
You're not forecasting any of those future paychecks. So what that practically does for people is it gives meaning to your bank balance. Here's this big blob of money, and maybe it's this abstract amount, but I'm going to make that concrete. I'm going to break that big total of money, or small total, whatever the case is, into these smaller piles of very distinct jobs. And once that clicked with me, and once it's clicked with other YNABers, it feels like that becomes a game changer.
Mm-hmm. I want to have you reflect on this idea that I think a lot of people who are new to budgeting or planning their money struggle with, which is the idea of building a budget that is really based on past spending versus building a budget that's based on future or current or future jobs or needs, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, because that's what most people think of when you say the B word. You say budgeting, right? And it's kind of a bummer because, usually what it is like you just categorize your expenses, your transactions, right? Or it's done for you automatically with software or whatever. And then you get like a report at the end of the month, and you see how much you screwed up, right?
Yeah.
And so,
exactly.
right? And so it's
Shame
just
spiral.
Yeah,
Right.
it's this shame-based system. And like, I do think it can be effective. Like, it's better than nothing, because at least you say, oh, I spent too much more or more than I wanted to, at least in this category. So maybe I can try to rein that in. But there's not like a real causal connection. Like the only thing that's causing you to change your behavior is just this shame, really. It's
Right.
like, look how bad you did. And you get that report at the end. But what we're doing here is, instead of that, we're actually planning ahead by giving every dollar a job. And that way you have a guide going forward. So when I want to go out to eat, I can look at my dining out category and see how much real dollars are in that category available to spend. And they are connected to reality, because we only give money. We only give jobs to dollars that we actually have in the bank. It represents real money, right? And so then I can make decisions. If I look and I see, oh, I don't have any money in the dining out category, I can make the decision to say, no, I'm not going to go out to eat right now, because but you can actually see why. You can look at your category and say, well, the reason why I'm not going out to eat right now is because I'm going after these other goals. Or you could say, you know what, I really do want to go out to eat right now, but I don't have money for it. Let's take some money from another category, move cash out of another envelope and bring it into this dining out envelope. And then I know exactly what I gave up. It makes it super tangible and super real, right? Instead of this like vibe of, I just screwed up, I guess I have to do better next month, right?
Can I just say something too? Like, I think that that's such an important value when you're a parent to teach your kids, because that is something that we did as they were growing up. They're adults now, but when we would be at the grocery store, for example, one of them might say, well, can I have this? And I'd be like, no, we only have enough money for our groceries, so we can't get that.
Right.
Oh, okay. And they can't argue if you don't have the money.
Right.
Like they don't have the mindset to say, well, let's take the apples away and we can bring the candy in. But anyway, I just want to say that when you've got children, it's such a good way to kind of get them thinking about money too. So,
Yeah.
on a side note.
I wrote this blog like years ago. My son, he's 8 now, but he was only 2 years old, and he came up to me. I was like sitting in the. I remember so vividly. I was like sitting in the front yard. He was running around, and he came up and he said, "I want some blue cream." He wants blue ice cream. That's what he said. He said in that exact voice. And I looked. I was like, we could go out to ice cream. And I looked at at YNAB. I looked at the entertainment category, and there wasn't any money there. It was like the end of the month, and I was just like running on fumes a little bit here, and and so I just like showed him. He's 2, okay. I showed him. I was like, look, there's no money in there. Like there's a zero. He didn't know what was going on, but I like showed him anyway, and I was like, we don't have any money for that right now, and he was like, then we won't go. And I was expecting him to be upset, but he was just like, oh yeah, well, okay, we got to it, and then he's ran off and played.
Yeah,
and so
then it was
really
gone.
Cool. Yeah, and then it was gone. And then, but like later, now that they're older, I am having conversations with them because they have their little category, and I say like, well, hey, the conversation's like, hey, you can go do this thing, you can buy that toy or whatever it is, but if you do that, you won't be able to do this. Yeah. So it's just it's not shame based. It's not like, hey, if you buy that toy, you're a bad person. It's just, what do you want? You have to grapple with the truth that you only have so much money, you can only do so much. And so instead of saying, hey, we're not going to buy this toy because you're a jerk if you buy the toy, or you should feel ashamed of it, instead we say, well, we can buy that toy, but that means we can't do this. So which one of these two things do you value more? Mm-hmm. And so it just becomes, instead of this shame spiral thing, it's just asking, what do I want? Like, what do I want my life to look like? And asking yourself that over and over and over again. And then in that process, your spending actually lines up with who you want to be. And it's really powerful.
I love that.
So everything you're describing here sounds a lot like the original 4 rules of YNAB. Yes. I, as a longtime lover of the 4 rules, and as I got the email yesterday from your colleague Brittany telling me, we don't really use the 4 rules anymore.
We changed it up.
You changed it up, and I'm curious, sort of where that comes from, because I think we've been talking with our community about the 4 rules when we talk about these things, and it sounds like you're still using some of the language around that. But I'd like to know how this evolution for you in the way you talk about money mentality has evolved people's success with money living, right? We used to have give every dollar a job. You've already said that. You dropped that, so drink. But the other 3 rules, right? Embrace true expenses, roll with the punches, and age your money. Like, all of those things were kind of central to what YNAB was. And now we're not talking about those so much. So how has this simplification helped people think about their money more positively?
I think it's more palatable now. You don't have to do as much explaining.
Yeah.
Because what are true expenses? We have a boxing metaphor in there. If you're not a sports person, like, what? Age of money. Like, honestly, can a hardcore YNABber describe age of money? So, and also we realized all the rules, it's basically one rule. It's give every dollar a job. Mm-hmm. And so what we transitioned to are questions. Because we realized in helping millions of people with their money, they know the answers. Like, we don't know what to tell them. They know their lives best. And so we're just going to offer them questions, things for them to consider, and they can give the answers.
You'll see. Don't worry, Pete. Like, it's the same principles. It's just
they're all there, right?
It's repackaged.
I feel like I need you to give me a safety, like some sort of a stuffed animal. Or something.
It's actually exactly the same principles. It's just more plain language, and also we shifted it from rules, which is more, again, a little more shamey based, to
a little bit. I get it.
Let's just ask you questions. So we could go over those questions if you want.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's do it.
The first question is, what does this money need to do before I'm paid again? And I think for folks with ADHD who are like struggling with making things concrete, this is huge. So this is when you deal with just the reality of your regular expenses. You only, and what I love, it's very concrete. It's like, look at the money you have right now. Mm-hmm. Look at the money, and you do this every time you get paid. So whenever you get paid, ask yourself, what does this money, the money I have right now, need to do before I get paid again? And so you have a time frame, you have an amount, and you just look at it. So if I have my mortgage or my rent that's due before my next paycheck, I got to take care of that. So I'll put money there. Right. And so you look at what's coming up between now and your next paycheck, put money aside, easy peasy. Right.
So one of the things that you need to know is what's coming up.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something that I think like the ADHDer may miss. So we need to know what our expenses are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen out your expenses are I think really the first step, and we do that in categories in YNAB, and there's all these software features to help you with it.
We're going to talk about that. Put a pin in that.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And then when you go beyond that, the next question is, okay, what larger or less frequent spending do I need to prepare for? So I've looked at like maybe the next 2 weeks. Now I want to look up a little more and say, okay, what's coming up? And this is analogous to embrace your true expenses. This is, what are some non-monthly things that happen, like the car repairs. Like, you don't know when it's going to happen, you don't know how much, but you do know it's going to be more than $0. So set aside more than $0 at least, right? So set money aside for that. Set money aside for a yearly subscription to a software service or something like that, right? What you're doing is you're kind of like taking these large things that sneak up on you because they don't happen every month and breaking them down in monthly amounts. It's like you're just doing like these monthly subscriptions, and you're setting money aside in these categories so that when the car does break down, you have cash to handle it. And it's you just feel like so awesome when it happens, right?
Yeah.
Right. The one that sticks with me is embrace your true expenses, right? Because that's one I still keep in my head a lot, that the things that, and I guess it's the artifact from sort of budgeting, like old school, like let's look at what we spent, that is still in my head as an old person, I guess.
Totally, yeah.
That I still feel like I have to keep, and I have to have resonant, and every time I sit down and look at my budget. What is your current mindset around true expenses when you're talking to people who struggle with figuring out their true expenses?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, the reason why we switched from the true expenses language is just so it's plainly clear right at the beginning. Like, instead of saying true expenses, and here's what the concept of true expenses is, right? Now we just say, what are your larger, less frequent expenses, or your non-monthly expenses, right?
Okay.
And so as people get, especially that word non-monthly, people just get it like right away, right? So I think that's
a quarterly payment of like insurance or something like that.
I still have the stuff I forgot to budget for category.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea too, because there's always going to be things that you forget. Always, right? It's always a thing. So so it's just things that tend to, like in the past they tend to sneak up on you because they're not here right in front of your face. They don't happen every month. But if you look up and you plan for it by setting money aside for it, I mean, you'll just feel so cool because you'll have money for those things. Like, you know how it is, Pete, right? I got the money for it. Like the sound of the mechanic's voice when they call you and they say, oh yeah, it's good. The worst part of their job where they have to tell you that you owe $2,000, for this thing. And you just say, oh, okay, that's fine. And they're just like, what? Like,
really?
It's like, I feel like I'm like helping myself, but I'm also helping the mechanic.
I can eat tonight, says the mechanic.
Right. Right. It's just so much better. So
and I think a practical piece of advice here in talking about like what about the person who struggles to think through what all their true expenses actually are?
Yes.
It does not have to be perfect out of the gate.
Yeah.
My first year, it took me 1 full year to fully figure out what my true expenses were. And so for that first year, I relied heavily on the stuff I forgot category.
Yeah.
And you can continue to rely on that however long it takes. Maybe 5 years down the road, you're like, hey, I haven't been using that. I've maybe kind of dialed these in by now. But so just give yourself permission to take it easy. It doesn't have to be perfect out of the gate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, your plan is a living, breathing thing, because you're always going to be changing it, because your life is always changing and your values are always changing, and it should reflect that, right? So don't feel like, oh, if I forget one, I'm a monster. You can roll with the punches when the time comes, right?
Look, you just used the boxing
I said
metaphor.
I said the boxing metaphor.
Drink.
Drink.
So So this is the thing that I feel like I do at the end of every month. I'm rolling with the punches actively. I'm saying, oh, I overspent a couple of categories. I'm going to take from some categories that I'm not spending right now. I'm going to just smooth things out so that I can make the credit card payment. And this is the experience of figuring out how to get myself back on track when my budget falls off the rails. And if we know anything with ADHD, it's the better the structure in our lives around any system, any process, the easier it will be to regain control when that process inevitably fails. It will fail. It will be harder to rebuild if you don't have a system in place.
And not just a system, but like a system that can handle you can be flexible and you can make changes. Like if you have a really rigid system, it's just going to break and you're going to throw it away, right? But this system is all about making those trade-off decisions and moving money between categories. And so long as you do it with your eyes wide open, you have all the information in front of you, you're going to make good decisions.
Well, and I have to say, as a new member, when I first started with YNAB, as intuitive as it is, I still think you need to watch whatever tutorials you need to, ask the questions that you need to, because I screwed up.
Well, it's a different way of thinking about your money. It really is. And so it's not just learning software. It's like, oh my gosh, this is a whole different mindset,
Absolutely. And I had to start all over.
Yeah.
But
Totally
you guys
normal.
make it really easy to start over though.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
the other thing, is it does make it really easy to start over. But I just have to say, read the directions, people. Don't think you can just figure it out, because
Ernie's got a video for you on our YouTube channel. He'll teach you.
I got a live workshop you can come to.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. You are not alone. There are many stuff. There's a lot of content out there for you. To learn, so.
Well, I think all of the things that we're talking about, right? They're all about, removing the shame with reality. And sometimes reality can trigger shame. But the whole idea for me is that when I am deeply in touch with my plan, I have less shame and I'm more self-compassionate because I know I've done the work. And I feel like that's really important. Let us start with just sort of plan zero. When you have new people coming to YNAB, where do you suggest they start? Like, give us some small sort of realistic steps for beginners to just get started. And I know that the first one is go watch Ernie's video, subscribe to Budget Nerds. Like, we get it. But just for people who are listening who are like, hey, I'm going to open YNAB right now, what's the first thing I should do? You also kind of thought about this on the episode I was just talking about. Do you link your accounts first? Do you enter your categories first? Let's hash it out. Where do you recommend people start?
Keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
So start with one checking account. That's probably your primary spend account right there. And then start with your categories. Just start customizing them. What things do I know for sure that I spend my money on? And then you don't have to go through bank statements. You don't have to try to recall everything you've spent over the past 6 months. As those things come up, you just create a new category.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. And this every time you get paid, it's just to follow that process of giving every dollar a job and just put the money into categories and then follow the plan as you track that spending, and you can move money between categories if you want. That's a huge part of it. One of the questions is, what changes do I need to make, if any? And you ask that all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's such an important message too for our audience to hear, is that it is a simple method. We do not need to overcomplicate it.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, you can complicate it as much as you want. Like we did a starting simple episode, and I think later we're gonna do an advanced YNAB episode if you really want to get super nerdy and all the details. But I go back to that envelope analogy. That's all you're doing. You're just putting money in envelopes, spending out of those envelopes. That's really all you're doing. And so if you want to just start with that and don't even worry about all the nerdy software features that you can really get into, that's fine. Just start nice and simple.
And you could even make this simpler than what we're talking about. You could add your checking account, link that account, and just monitor your spending. Just look at your transactions. You don't even have to go into the categories or implement the YNAB method. just start paying attention to what your spending is with no judgment. And then it just will naturally evolve from there. You'll just keep adding more and more until eventually you're going to be a full-fledged budget nerd.
Yeah. I think that for some people that might be the right way to go is maybe take a month or two of just tracking and just looking and saying, oh yeah, this is how much I am spending on this category or this place, right? And just kind of noticing things, and then you'll be in a better place to actually start making the plan and planning ahead as well.
Well, and having better estimates, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
Because if you're thinking about, this is the money I have until I get paid next, but I don't have enough money to pay my whole rent right now, but I can put, $300 in it. Right. So I think it just gives you a better idea of how much to put away in each category too.
Right. Yeah. So that's a good tip too.
And it also, you can see how much you're eating out. Oh my God, DoorDash is killing me.
It always comes back to dining out. Like everyone, it's almost like annoying actually. Like I've talked to so many people, like, how did you get out of debt? Like what you made this, you went on this huge vacation, or you saved up for a car or paying cash. Like, how did you do it? And like every single one of them are like, oh, I stopped dining out. Right? I didn't do DoorDash so much. And I'm just like, can we just get something else? Like, but it's like, it's true. Like, that's the thing for so many people.
You see it and you're like, okay, all right, I get it. I'm the problem.
See, Nikki, this is what really bakes your noodle, right? It's the fact that if you're doing DoorDash, how many more times could you go out if you drove to the restaurant yourself?
It's crazy.
Like, I can't do it. Like, at a certain point, I was just like, I'm paying like 3 times the amount for this burrito.
Yes.
It just
and
like
then I'm
makes me mad.
DoorDasher because I don't want them to like do anything to my food. So
or they're gonna like take a video of you and like put it in your like.
I have to tip them. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's extraordinary. Like that piece alone is just having the awareness. Like, you can't take action if you don't have the awareness of what you're spending, right? If you don't have that.
And here's the deal. Like, you might be like, but I really like dining out, right? Then you should put more money to dining out. Like, you should spend more on dining out, right? But I think what a lot of people realize is it's not like, oh, I'm a bad person and I shouldn't get DoorDash and it's not that. It's actually, you know what? I don't enjoy getting DoorDash as much as I enjoy going to Italy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like doing something really cool with my money.
I would love to eat Italian food in Italy. That would be
right. But like, and I know that sounds like kind of pie in the sky, but
I love that.
That's an example of like, okay, do I want to get DoorDash every night, or do I want to do something really cool with my money that I actually enjoy? And you might realize if you cut back on the DoorDash, you actually don't enjoy it as much as you thought you did. And the result is that you can actually spend that money in a way that you actually do want, instead of a way that in truth you don't really want, right?
You just used words to something that I've experienced and didn't really realize it. The number of times I put a category in place, I fully fund it, and when I get to the point to make the purchase, I second guess making the purchase in the first place.
Yeah. And that
happens all the time.
That happens all day, every day to so many people, where it's just like, because you don't really know if you can afford it. You're like, like in afford it is more than just like, do I have the money? It's like, is there something else that's more important hiding in the leaves? You know what I mean? It's going to jump out at me, right? And if you give every dollar job, you're going to consider all those things, and so you can actually go and spend the money and not second guess it, not worry about it, because you've considered it. And I think a lot of this is just getting it out of your head. Because when I go, every time I spend money, I'm like, well, okay, I got to think about, okay, so I got $400 in the checking account, but the electric bill's coming out in 2 days. So I got to think about that. And it's like, get all that out of your head. Just say, I thought about all that stuff, and so I can buy it. No worries. Don't think about it. Right.
This is, Nikki, this is exactly what we talk about with doing the core dump, right? Like doing the brain dump and getting all your tasks out of your head into your task management. Like, do that with all of the things that are rattling around in your head with regard to your money in YNAB and or whatever tool you choose to do, but something money focused. And that really helps clear the clutter, right? And so much of what we're trying to do is decrease the noise and increase the signal.
Right.
Well, because I think that something with when you're looking at your money, you may not like what you're seeing, but you need to see it. Because if you don't see it, then you're also under this impression that, oh, I can pay that later, or that's where we get into the credit card debt, issue and stuff. So I think it's one of those things that you have to kind of face the fear, because it's better to know than I think not to know, and then get yourself in more trouble.
Yeah. It's like this monster's chasing you, and you're imagining it. It's like this big, toothy, hairy thing, and you're so scared. And sometimes I think if you just turn around, you face that monster, you find out it's a bunny rabbit. Like it's not, it's not actually that bad. But other times it might actually be bad, Right. But you are a knight, and you have a sword and a shield, and like you can slay that monster, but you got to turn and face it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Best practices in terms of people visiting their budgets on what kind of schedule. I imagine you guys just leave it open all day long, every day. I do a budgeting fever
I do it
dream.
too much, Pete. Like the point is to get out of my head, but I just can't stop looking at it. You know? But yeah, Ernie, you want to talk about that, because you have a workshops you do about routines, right?
Well, we don't do that workshop anymore.
Oh,
but
okay.
We talk about routines all the time.
And it went out with Age of Money. Just through.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the easiest thing is just to get in there every single day, because you're doing a little bit instead of a lot. I can handle categorizing 2 transactions from the day before.
Yeah.
But if I wait a week or 2 weeks looking at 25 transactions, no way.
Yeah, like you don't know how much what category did you spend on Target 3 weeks ago? Like,
and I went to Target 12 times. So
right.
But yeah, if you do a little every day, it's kind of like the dishes, which I don't really. I hate to analogize doing the YNABing like the dishes, because the dishes is the worst, but this is actually fun for me anyway. but it's like, if you let it pile up, it gets kind of stinky, you know what I mean? But if you just do a little every day, it's super easy. Maybe even joyful, maybe even a little fun, because you're kind of sorting it out, right? But I would say, like, as far as like the processing of the transactions, no more than once a week, or no less than once a week.
Yeah.
And especially when you first get started, if you could do a little every day, I think it's really helpful.
And then I think it's always helpful, because there's going to be various seasons where you're thinking about your money a little bit differently. Like at the end of the month, maybe you want to do a monthly review and kind of look back on what that previous month was, or maybe it's January 1st. And what are my goals? What are our goals for the new year? So, for me, most of my time is day to day, but then I'll step back every month and look at some stuff. I'll do a yearly review. And then every so often, life just drastically changes. And I think those are great opportunities to just, maybe start completely from scratch, throw everything on the table and just redo everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then of course, every time you get paid, that'll be determined by your pay cycle. So if you get paid every 2 weeks, you're going to sit down and you're going to give every dollar a job. You're going to do that process of setting money aside into categories. And that gets super quick as you get more dialed in with what you want to do. But that is really the bread and butter, because that's where you're making those trade-offs decisions. And then every day you're processing and checking those categories, just making sure that you're on track. That's really all there is to it.
I have to add, as an entrepreneur, if you're getting paid not on a regular basis, something I've learned in the last few years is, I have that little account that's just for taxes. So every time that I get paid, I put a percentage into that savings account.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't do that for a while, for a long time. And boy, when that tax bill came, I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean that's one of those larger, less frequent expenses. But for you, it's enormous, because you don't have somebody withholding for you. You have to do it yourself. Right?
Yeah, but that was one of the smartest things I've done. Every time I have something come in, I just take a percentage and it goes straight there. So now it feels like it's that joy that you're talking about, Ben, when you call the mechanic and it's like, yeah, I'm calling the tax guy and I've got the money.
The tax person actually likes you. you.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually like to go to the IRS with one of those like conference money guns that you see in hip hop videos.
Yes.
And I just point it and I just pay the bill in $1 bills, just shooting and making it literally rain in money. I love it.
I think your tax person does not like you, Pete.
Yeah,
we're not great friends, but we understand each other.
You're not watching Star Trek
he gets
together.
it.
Right. You're not watching Star Trek.
Is he not on the group chat?
He's not on the group chat. No way. Okay. What is for just as we get to wrap up, what is the most extravagant budget you've ever seen?
Oh,
the most extravagant plan. I want to give people the idea of the scope of what you can do in YNAB. Well,
it's funny. We have one episode called like a high income earner, like YNAB with a high income person. And we got somebody who was fancy rich to come and talk with us. Right. So if you want to see an example of, because they went through their categories and showed numbers, like everything. Right.
Yeah. We'll put that in the show show notes.
For sure.
Yeah. That was a couple of years ago.
To aspire.
That was great. But that's it. But it really shows like, it doesn't matter your income level. Like there's some folks that are really close to the edge and they need YNAB, but there's folks that have extravagant incomes and they need YNAB too, because it doesn't really matter.
They want to stay fancy rich.
They want to stay fancy rich. But like, the second guessing, the worry that Pete was talking about earlier, it happens to folks with high incomes too. It's just a whole different set of numbers, but we all worry about money. And so it does happen. So I think, it doesn't really matter your income level, really. It can be useful no matter where you are.
Love it.
I delight in my category structure. It's one of the things I'm most proud of in my life. And I have children. I have created categories for everything.
This is one of your babies here.
It is one of my babies. Even the smallest. I have an app that I pay $2.99 a year for a subscription.
You got a category for that?
I have a category, but wait, I did. I set up the monthly. I set up the monthly thing, so it actually contributes to that category like 30 cents a month.
Oh, I love it.
So
I love it.
I mean, I delight in that experience. I delight in those little bars, and I've never delighted about anything like this in my life.
It's just fun, because you don't want to have to worry about finding $3 when the expense comes around. Like it gets that. Like, okay, some of you guys are listening. So you're like, really, Pete? Like, I do. Like, you don't have to get that detailed, but like, you can if you want.
Yeah.
And if that gives you life, then do it.
It does. It gives me life. That's what it gives me. I don't even know where to begin to tell people to go subscribe to the show. I love it so much because it gives me not just ideas about how to use YNAB, but it's sort of a role model for how to think about money and how to think about my expenses. You guys are doing great work. And we're just huge fans of YNAB. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today and sharing with the community and hopefully your current users and future users who are among us. It's a great tool for ADHD.
This is a blast.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Where do you want to send people? I mean, if you want to send, we'll put the link to Budget Nerds in there, but what anything specific we haven't mentioned that you want to make sure we send people to look at?
Yeah, I'd say if you want to try a trial of the YNAB software, go to ynab.com/nerds. That'll let us know that we sent you. So
excellent.
And you'll get a free 34-day trial there, and that'll be a good way to just get started. And we'll start sending you. Well, don't worry, we'll send you all sorts of goodies along the way to teach you. And if you want to go to our YouTube channel, that's a good place. You can subscribe there, and you'll see all of our podcasts on video form there. But you'll also see some getting started videos there. That's a good place to go.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
You guys are great. Thank you so much. And to everybody listening, thank you for downloading and listening to this show. Thank you for your time and your attention. Don't forget, if you have something to contribute to the conversation, we're heading over to the Show Talk channel over in Discord, and you can join us right there by becoming a supporting member at the deluxe level or better, patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. On behalf of Ben Barlow, Ernie Reppe, Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll see you next week right here on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast. When you live with ADHD, planning your week can feel like staring at a blank map with no compass. That's why Nikki built GPS, Guided Planning Sessions.
That's right. GPS is more than just a weekly planning call. It's a proven structure where you learn to chart your week with intention, set realistic goals, and lean on built-in accountability so you don't have to do it alone.
Every session gives you the space and guidance to reset, regroup, and move forward with clarity. You'll also get access to workshops and special events and a private online community that's been thriving for years, full of people who get it, who know what it's like to wrestle with ADHD, and who show up to cheer each other on.
That community is the heart of GPS. Our longtime members call it a lifeline, the place where they've built consistency, celebrated progress, and found friends who keep them motivated.
Enrollment is open now for the fall session, but spots are limited. So if you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start moving with purpose, this is your moment.
Join a group, find your path, get moving. Sign up today at takecontroladhd.com/GPS.